Blog Talk Radio.
Your balls are showing. There are two types of balls. There are big brave balls, and there are little meat balls. Your dicks have drive and clarity of vision.
The most important piece of equipment is called the cup. Now, it ain't no Dixie cup, and it ain't no coffee mug. And you certainly won't want to be drinking nothing out of it.
Hey, any boys down there? That's the biggest bear you ever seen, Dingleberry.
Wow, I play with these balls all day.
Well, it's my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one.
He's one of those guys who will get penetration.
Hey everybody, welcome to week 3 of Big Balls Fantasy Football Show. Hope everybody's doing good tonight. We're broadcasting you live on GRR, the Greg REIFSTECK Radio Network. This evening, we'll be recapping week 2 in fantasy football. We'll give you some waiver wire wackiness and who you should or shouldn't jump on for next week's lineups. We're going to give you the balls to the wall injury report like we do every week, and of course, we're going to discuss last week's debacle. Well, good for Packer fans, but a debacle for Bears fans. Last week's Thursday night scrimmage between the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. And we will also hopefully be joined by Jenna Lee, our Big Balls Genius of the Week, for telling everyone to bench Jay Cutler last week from their lineups. Speaking of benches, we're also going to discuss the bench and why some idiots like me left Hakeem Nicks on the bench and watched him go for almost 200 yards. Finally, we're going to have the Balls Challenge that Prost and I do every single week with each other. If you're listening online live, feel free to join us in the chat room, or you can call in and talk about fantasy football with us at 646-716-7132. If you can't listen to us live, you can call us up on the phone and listen to us over the phone. You can also now tweet us at BigBallsFBall. That's BigBallsFBall. We have 3,000 followers strong on there and growing. And also you can catch us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/BigBallsFantasyFootball, or just type in Big Balls Fantasy Football. So, of course, joining me in the studio now in our fine Big Balls SoCal studio is Neil, a.k.a. Prost. How's it going, bro?
Oh, the Bears still. Oh, sorry. We're just get
Go
that
ahead, sing
song
it.
in my head.
Sing it for me.
Got the Bears still suck song in my head. It's an oldie but a goodie. It goes back to the last time the Bears won the Super Bowl. That's how old that song is. Anyway, my perennial bye week. How you doing? Trash bowled you again.
You did.
Have you ever beat me in that thing?
I beat you a few times, a few years, but usually no. No, you usually trash me 2 games, or at least one of the 2 games for sure.
Well, speaking of fantasy past, I remember I think I was living in Chicago at the time we both were, when Philadelphia put that 4th and 27 on the Packers.
Yeah.
And it destroyed my life. Actually, the following season I had a 4th and 27 football team. Just for real quick bonus points, when Green Bay had that fake field goal, guess what the down and distance was?
What was the down and distance?
4th and 27, baby.
If you're a numerologist,
that memory has been erased. I now hand the 4th and 27 crown to you.
You have a corrective experience for you, and now I get to hold the curse of the 4th and 27. Wonderful.
Yeah, the difference was that when Philadelphia completed that pass, it should never happen. We did a fake field goal, so I get you a little bit of a bonus, but I feel much better.
Well, that's why you're the right ball of Big Balls. We decided that last week, right?
I am right. That is correct.
But I have one other question. I mean, the way these things usually work in nature, one ball is bigger than the other. Are you, because you're the right ball, are you also the bigger ball as well?
Statistically I would be. I mean, considering that I am taller and tip the scales below what you do since you've had your nice little diet recently.
Actually, that diet has come back. Always with the beginning of football season, going out to the bars and everything, it raises it back up and eating some good Chicago food over at the Bears bar doesn't help things either. Anyway, let's move on. I do not think I see Jen Lee on the line yet, so let's just proceed and move forward with.
All right.
Let's talk. We put up with our rivalry game last week, and I'm sure everybody had some Packers and everybody had some Bears on their teams, and nobody scored crap with any of those players. No huge, double-digit numbers or anything.
That is true for the most part. I mean, I did the same. Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. I did the same thing tonight. You'll notice I have predicted to bench everybody from both teams. Doesn't matter. The Giants' defense is too good for Carolina, and except for that, there's no film on the guy. We don't know his trends, thing that tends to help your fantasy team sometimes. The Giants are short on weapons. Now, that's not necessarily going to get shut out because obviously they haven't. But you have your little projections of how many points your guy is supposed to score. This game will fall in below projections for people. Yeah. So hopefully you don't have anybody sitting on the playing on the team. You're going to be disappointed unless your backups just really suck.
Yeah. Right now, people will be listening to this days from now. But if you are listening live, Brown, the practice squad hope from the New York Football Giants, already has posted up 57 yards on 5 carries. He's averaging 11.4 yards per carry. So if you did play him, and we did have big balls and played him, and he just actually took off on what looks like about another 12-yard run. So I wouldn't have played Eli Manning, though, that's for sure. I wouldn't have played either of these quarterbacks because neither of them are going to score very high. Both defenses are very strong, that's for sure.
No, and they were talking about trying to put fumbles back in there for the Giants to see what he would do. And I guess, if this kid struggles, Brown, they may do that. But it's a make or break chance because if Wilson fumbles again, he might as well just pack up. He'll be on the practice squad. He won't be playing.
You took the words right out of my mouth. He's going to be taking Brown's spot on the practice squad. It's going to be the flip-flop, that's for sure. But, yeah, playing in any rivalry, when you have two rival teams playing, whether it's the Ravens and the Steelers or the Bears and the Packers, or even you have the two New York teams, the Giants and the Jets playing each other, or, of course, San Diego versus the Raiders, you don't want to play any of those players unless you really have to, unless they're on your elite squad, and even maybe not them, because I had Aaron Rodgers on one of my teams last week, and I only got 8 points out of him.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, this trend now with Thursday Night Football is killing fantasy. You also have to look at it as a bye week because you had the Thanksgiving week and stuff like that was the same few teams. But now with everybody going on to a bye week, a short week, you got fantasy guys like Greg Jennings who sat last week who probably could have played on Sunday. Turns out he tweaked himself again in practice Tuesday. But you've got a lot of players who get nicked up on Sunday who could probably play the following week. But because their game is on Thursday, they're going to sit. And that's just bad news for fantasy owners. I'm not a real big fan of these Thursday night games. Neither
am I. And speaking of watching Thursday night games and interrupting Thursday night games, Jen Lee, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, how's it going? Sorry to interrupt your watching of the game.
Hey, it's okay. No problem.
So, were you stuck with that? We were talking about first we were talking about playing people from rival teams, and you are our Big Balls Fantasy Football Genius of the Week for making a call on our show last week of benching Jay Cutler when I actually played him and got completely burned.
Yeah, it ended up being a good call. Phillips had Rivers, had a great game against Tennessee, so I was happy I started him. And Cutler, we know that he struggles against Green Bay in general, but he definitely struggles when they're playing in Green Bay, so I thought that was a pretty good call.
Yeah, there was nothing better than seeing. I wouldn't have played him if we had all these ESPN stats at our disposal all the time, or knew even to look for them, because we get into the game, and I think you pointed out to me when we were watching it there at the Bears Bar, like, look, he plays like garbage at Lambeau, and this is great. That after
Cutler struggles with himself. He's his own worst enemy sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did put him in though this week against St. Louis. I think that I think the offense is going to have a much better rhythm. I think that they're at home. He's going to feel like he has something to prove a little bit. The receivers are going to feel like they have a little bit more to prove and getting open and stuff like that. So I did put it in this week, so we'll see.
I put in Matthew Stafford again on mine. I got cold feet on him from last week. I had to put Matthew Stafford in. Plus, Matthew Stafford had a reasonable week last week, so we'll see what he does. The other thing we were talking about is leaving players on the bench. Did you get stuck with anybody on the bench last week, or do you remember a time generally when you've gotten had a nightmare amount of points stuck on your bench?
Yeah, actually last week I did okay with that, but I was looking around in our league, and there were some big guys that were on people's bench. Eli Manning was on someone's bench and got him 41 points, and that person had started Romo instead. Ben Tate was on somebody's bench, Malcolm Floyd. So, you really, I think people have to really pay attention a little bit more to the matchups that they're going against, and just because a quarterback or any player for that matter had a bad week one week, don't just automatically bench them the next week. Look and research, see who they're playing, and, leave them in if it's a better matchup.
Yeah, Neil, did you get jammed with anybody on your bench?
No, not recently, but I have in the past. It happens to, I think, every fantasy player at least once a year. And the funniest thing, like John Lee said, was, just because the guy has a bad game, don't bench him. It cracks me up talking to people in bars and stuff. The fantasy players who will bench a guy out of spite. It's like, are you kidding me? The guy had a bad game, so you're going to bench him? That might work if you're the coach or the team trying to motivate your player. But this is fantasy. Man, if the guy's got a golden matchup, I don't care if he did stuff it last week, he's going to stay in my starting lineup. You can't let emotions run this game. You're going to fail.
Oh, yeah, definitely. As we were talking about last week, just playing players that are on, even when you draft players just because they're on your team. We have this guy in my work league. He calls his team the LA Raiders. And half of his players are Raiders players. I feel really sorry for him when the bye week comes.
Yeah, no doubt. Will you put in Chargers in since both teams are going to be in LA soon? Or?
There you go. So let's talk waiver wire. Jen Lee, you have any waiver wire recommendations this week? Anybody you might have picked up, or anybody you saw that you think's hot this week?
Yeah, I picked up actually Richardson from the Rams. He's their rookie running back, and I picked him up because it's looking like Steven Jackson will not be a go. Chicago's defense it's very good right now against the run. I mean, we are ranked 9th, but we do tend to get tired, and that rookie was really taking off, and he had over 100 yards. In the time that he did play last week, and he didn't even play a full game. So right now that's looking pretty good. And then I would pay attention to maybe, if you're in a deeper league, Donnie Avery against Jacksonville. Jacksonville's defense isn't very good, and, Luck is doing pretty good throwing the ball, so I think he's good to pay attention to.
How would you rank those picks on the ball scale, Neil?
Decent. That's a good set of picks. I do the same thing when I'm running through And it's easy to pick a lineup. It's hard to find that sleeper dude that you're going to run with. You know, I'm watching the Giants here, and they just scored this kid. I guess he's going to turn out to be the real thing, which is surprising because his previous stats in 4 years in the NFL, he had 2 carries for -1 yard.
Yeah.
So you thought that Ogletree came out brilliant and had a career year. This dude, just by running forward past the line of scrimmage, eclipsed his previous 4 years of NFL experience, and now he's rocking it here. Carolina's defense is surprisingly by how poor they're playing, but okay.
Now, because I have Arian Foster and I have DeMarco Murray, I, of course, have him on my bench in my work league right now. Speaking of benches. But
well,
when you have 2 solid running backs like that, how can I put in an untested guy?
Yeah, you got to do that because you had an offensive lineman for the Giants get hurt. You have one mainstay wide receiver who's going to get doubled off. So basically, you put your men in the box and you dare the Giants to run the ball, knowing that they're probably going to not have any timing with these second and third string guys, and they're still letting this kid run. So I'm kind of surprised. I guess I'm going to probably hear it from Giants fans. Told you so's, and I got to admit I blew this one, even though I had the great Seattle will bring Dallas back to earth call last week. I may have made a mistake on this game.
Yeah, definitely. So generally,
I think another person, if I can just jump in really fast.
I was just going to say, come on in.
Yeah, another person that might be, definitely worth paying attention to is Brent Selleck, because Philadelphia is playing Arizona, and beyond that, Philadelphia's receivers are all pretty much banged up. I mean, they're not going to be out necessarily. They're going to be playing, but, they have like 4 players that really haven't either been full participants at practice or are just starting to practice later in the week. So I think, Brent Selleck as a tight end would be a really good option.
Yeah, I saw him on the waiver wire, and in at least our league, I mean, he had a ton of points. He has been racking it up, and I was actually surprised to see him on there, but I have a full lineup, and I had Jermichael Finley, so I wasn't going to pick him up because you never know when Finley's going to take off, but Finley's been pretty slow, Neil. You got to blow in a call to your bench there and get Finley moving there, dude.
Yeah, I don't understand. His agent even called out Aaron Rodgers this week. There's no love there, and Finley just hasn't been producing. He's been injured or gets stone hands. He's not what the Packers were expecting with that guy. But going to tight ends, I'm actually looking, and we'll get to it later this week. Pettigrew from Detroit.
Oh yeah.
The only reason I like him is because he's playing Tennessee, and I'll tell you why. New England lit up Tennessee in Week 1. With the tight ends. Okay, it was New England, so you're like, okay, whatever. Then Tennessee comes in to San Diego here, and Dante Rosario, I think is a cast-off from Carolina, filling in for Antonio Gates, gets in the end zone 3 times.
Yep.
To me, that's telling me that Tennessee's got a problem defending tight ends. So logically, I go this week, who's Tennessee playing? Detroit. Who's their tight end? Pettigrew. Bam, he's in. And I'm going to see if that plan works out. And if you've got the ability to move some players around and do some drops of some weaker players, and it's proving to be the point, whoever Tennessee is playing, take that tight end from the opposing team and put him in your lineup because he's going to score you some points.
Definitely.
Well, and I think if I can piggyback on that, I was actually at the San Diego Tennessee game, and so what I saw is that, Tennessee's offense is having a problem staying on the field. Their offensive line is not very good, so they can't get their running game going. And so Tennessee's defense is on the field most of the game, and they're getting tired as well. So, there's a lot of options, especially with Detroit coming in. I think that most players from Detroit should do pretty good against their defense, which only ranks 25th overall.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and as Neil doesn't.
Did you notice? Sorry. Since you were at the game, I was watching it on TV because I live here, and it's just simpler for me because I drink too much to attempt to go to a game on Sunday. sometimes that's about it. Trolley's a wonderful thing. But anyway, Tennessee receivers seem to have the inability to catch a ball. I'm watching
a lot of drops.
This ball over
yep.
a lot of drop balls. He's at 50%, but he's not underthrowing guys that throw him behind him. He's hitting him right square in the hands, and they can't hang on to a ball.
Yep.
So that team is killing me. He's my pony for our little challenge here, and that team is just killing me right now.
Yeah. I tell you, we should get into some other waiver wire people who I picked up this week and who just got a huge grab, a huge long catch, 27-yard catch off of Cam Newton is Brandon LaFell kid.
Oh, yeah. He's made the...
Brandon LaFell. Yeah. Yeah, LaFell, he had 115 yards last week, 6 passes for 90 yards, 25-yard run. This kid, he's looking pretty good this game, too. I mean, the fantasy implications of this game, I think we're actually maybe going to get some points out of this, but who knows? That's the beauty of fantasy football. It is completely unpredictable.
And the beauty that I have being out pending my shoulder surgery from work is I have a lot of spare time now. So I watch a lot of NFL Network, and they're on the LaFell kick. They are picking up all the who's hot this week kind of deal. And for some reason, they're heavily into Eric Amendola from St. Louis. He's the next Wes Welker. You got to have him on your team. He's the man. You got to get there. He doesn't get in the end zone, but he's open on the slants.
Yeah.
But then you ask them about Bradford, they're like, oh, no, you wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. Well, who's throwing the guy the ball?
Right.
If you can't trust the quarterback, how can you possibly ride the receiver?
Yeah. I agree
but
with you.
I will say, Bradford that's mainly the only person Bradford is looking toward, in these third and long situations. I mean, that's the first guy he's wanting to go to. So, I did make a note of that, anyone who if he's available in your league, then it might be a good pickup.
I picked him up in one of mine, yeah. When you see a guy get 12 receptions for 133 yards, what you do in these situations is you're either in a situation where you have somebody injured and you pop them right in, or you do like I did. I picked him up in a few leagues, and you sit him on the bench and you wait. And if that next week they, get hot again, I usually then try and plug him in somewhere, because eventually somebody's going to, like a Jermichael Finley is going to fall off, or as we've seen this year, Beanie Wells, he's in one of my leagues, he's turned into crap, or Peyton Hillis, who hasn't been producing either, and then you're able to pick up somebody like Andre Brown and just say, all right, let's ride him for 2-3 weeks. It's the ups and downs. Any other words of wisdom this week, Chen-Li, or I should probably let you get back to watching the game?
I'll head in to watch the game, but I was going to just say that I agree with you on that. I picked up Ogletree in my league just because nobody had, and I figured, I don't need him to start, but, he might be good to sit on the bench. Miles Austin is always getting injured, and, I definitely think that Romo likes him and is going to look for him, especially if they have injuries. So sometimes if you have room on your bench, it's worth doing that. I don't think anybody, unless they were super desperate, especially at this time in the season, threw Ogletree right into their lineup, or they'd be completely insane. Except me playing Neil in our little crazy-ass, online thing that we got going here.
He got hot potato. People grabbed him the minute he had that blowout game, and after they got shut down in Seattle, he was back on the waiver wire. I got him now, too. I look at, and it was like generally it's guys getting thrown to a lot. I like to find statistically who gets targeted. Yeah, you might have 5 receptions, but if you get the ball thrown to you a number of times, and hopefully you weren't dropping them, but if you're the primary look for the quarterback, you're someone that I'm going to look at in my lineup. If you had just one random game where you got 10 catches and ran for 200 yards, with it, and 2 touchdowns, that's great. But if you're consistently looked to and thrown to, and passes get broken up, passes are bad, whatever, if you can hang on to the ball and make catches out of those looks, you're worth having on a roster. You're worth taking a chance on.
Yeah.
So maybe Amendola, if it's just Bradford and him playing pitch and catch is great. If that's the case, and leave the rest of the St. Louis receivers wide, don't even touch them. There's no point.
Right. And the other thing to bring up, a lot of people are in the yardage leagues. Our work league is a yardage league, and having somebody like Amendola, that's why I picked him up right away. Sure, play pitch and catch like crazy. I'll take all the yards you'll give me. I don't need you to go into the end zone. It's great and wonderful if you do, but I'll let you give me 133 yards in a game. You bet your ass I will.
Oh yeah, that's 13 points in a lot of leagues.
Yeah. So we've covered Andre Brown, we've covered Amendola, we've covered Brandon LaFell. Another person that was sitting on the waiver wire in a few of mine that somebody actually I saw in two of my leagues that they dropped Ryan Matthews because of his clavicle injury.
Yeah, that would be my balls pick to put him in A, because he had no training camp whatsoever. I mean, no preseason whatsoever. And B, the clavicle is just another of his long list of injuries.
Right.
That kid spends a lot of time on the bench, and I don't have the courage to put him in knowing that he's not going to last. He's my Ahmad Bradshaw out here on the West Coast.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, do you pick him up and sit him on your bench and wait and see, because he's going to produce maybe 3-4 weeks when you need him down the line. And him sitting there now, he's not going to be sitting there later. Somebody's going to pick him up.
Yeah, he's definitely quality, and he's going to go. Problem that I have is I'll pick him up, put him on my bench just to say I have him and you don't. The week that I stick him in is the week that he stuffs it, like in the first quarter, and I'll be done. He'll have 25 yards and break a leg or something. Like, great. I just wasted my running back on this guy. I knew I shouldn't have picked him up. So.
Yeah, this was the celebratory Ahmad Bradshaw week. We knew this was coming. We knew. What was our over? What week? I think I picked week 5. I think we were too generous in our in how long it was going to last.
Yeah, it's a shame, and everybody missed this whole Wilson thing. Everybody missed the guy coming out of nowhere with -1 yards rushing and pretty much tearing up the NFL. He's having a heck of a game right now. So if you grabbed him and ignored me and played him, there's a good chance you're going to make out today, because he's having a great game.
Yeah,
I'm impressed with him.
Generally looks like she dropped out. So let's go on with a few other waiver. Do you have any other waiver wire wackiness picks on your list that we haven't mentioned?
Well, like I said, I like to watch the NFL Network and ESPN and watch those two battle it out. They had the Atlanta sports beat writer on today. Unfortunately, I missed his name. He was spouting these huge statistics about how Atlanta goes into San Diego and rips them up, and they're 5-0. The scoring is like very heavily balanced to the Atlanta side. I have a DVR. Perhaps more professionally, I should have rolled it back and gotten the actual stats, but what I'm doing is I'm weeding the ratings BS out of this thing. The fact of the matter is, if you look at consistency over the years, Matty Ice is exactly that on grass. He's great in his dome on turf, but you get him outside, get him on grass, he slows down. He's not the same quarterback. Maybe because his receivers are slower and their timing's off. I really couldn't tell you. But I'm not a big fan of Atlanta on the road. Statistics are great. If that was the case, Arizona would not have beaten New England last week, because Arizona has never done anything in New England, and they went off on them. Fortunately, a missed field goal, but did anyone even put Arizona in that game? I mean, come on. So, the NFL Network and ESPN, they have great information. I mean, we don't have the insiders in the locker room. We don't have the ability to get the straight hit and go priest. We have to go through. We have to watch these shows, and then we filter through what is ratings BS through contradictions in what they say, as in pick up Amendola, don't touch Bradford, and filter it out for you. we can save you a lot of time. In this 1 hour, which we're moving the show to help you out on Thursdays, we can save you hours of research on the internet. Check out the show. Check out the Facebook page.
Yeah,
and
we're
we'll have
always
done
on
the
there.
research for you.
We're always on there. I'm usually over-posting on both, but we're just trying to keep you informed. This isn't work for us. This is fun for us. That's another reason you want to listen to people that actually do this instead of the people that, as Neil always points out, get stuff written for them. They're handed a script. Oh, here's your hot picks for the week, because these guys are interviewing people all week and having dinners with other players and researching game stuff, but they're not interviewing fantasy, which we live, eat, breathe, and die by this stuff. So that's why you guys should listen to us. Yeah, big announcement. We are going to move the show, since right now we're talking to you during the Thursday game, and a lot of you want to get your information before the Thursday game, which, as Neil said, it's altered and somewhat killing people at fantasy because they're having to turn over their lineups so quickly. We're going to switch the show to Wednesdays at 5:30. And so Neil can do the show and then go win in his pool league. Isn't that right?
That is right. That's my 8-ball night. It's going to be a change of pace because I won't be able to have cocktails during the show because I do not drink and drive. Don't condone it, wouldn't condone it. And so I'll have to actually do the show sober. So that should be interesting.
Oh, man. Wow.
Well, the biggest problem is going to be the fact that I talk too fast. So when I'm drinking, I concentrate on speaking more distinctly, and I'm liable to be rattling like a freaking banshee when I'm sober. So we'll see how things work out.
Oh, this could be fun and interesting. Wow. Yeah. One more guy on the, I want to make, that was one announcement I wanted to make, and the other thing was to, they mentioned him on, of course, NFL Network, partway into the game, is we want to give our condolences to the Sable family from Big Balls Fantasy Football. Steve Sable died after fighting brain cancer for a long time, and modern-day football would not be modern-day football without him and his father. And everything they did with NFL films, you wouldn't have that dun 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 music. They came up with that and the slow motion. And this generation didn't get to enjoy a lot of that stuff. But I know, Neil, you and I growing up, we used to watch the NFL film stuff all the time when they used to have like This Week in Football.
They were pioneers, geniuses, took risks that paid great rewards. The Sables were fantastic. I don't know who's running the show now, but don't mess with a good thing. Don't let the NFL's money sway your decision-making. Stick by your guns. Follow the vision of your mentor. The man knew he was in failing health, so I'm sure he told you everything he could and gave you all his information. The guy was a genius.
Yeah.
Listen to him and carry it through. That hasn't been said, the unfortunateness of NFL Network. And I hate to beat a horse, but I do want to drive home the point that this is why we're here, is last week in the pregame show, they were asking people, what do you think about the game? And Marshall Falk was just anti-Packer. The Bears this, blah, 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 blah. These statistics, those statistics. Even Mariucci, who used to be the quarterbacks coach for the Packers, said, I like the Bears. This is why. They're going to be a better team. And oddly enough, the panel was split 2-2. Then right before the game, they got the last 5-minute wrap-up. Who do you pick? Bam, bam, bam. Across the board, Packers.
Yeah.
Somehow walking through the tunnel, the aura of Curly Lambeau and Vince Lombardi reached in and touched Marshall and said, dude, what are you thinking? Or he was told by NFL writers, here, push this position. We need it for ratings. We can't have you all agreeing that the Bears suck. Sorry, Greg.
Here's the problem. Unless you're watching at home, you have the football package, or you have DirecTV and you're watching the NFL Network and you're catching a Thursday game, you're at a bar. And the audio is low, or it's non-existent, or you're horse shitting with your friends. So all of a sudden, if you're in Vegas and they're trying to sway you to put a bet down, there's no sound. You're not getting any sound when you're looking at the sports book in Vegas. So all of a sudden, across the board, there's the Packers. I think I'm going to go bet on the Packers. I got 3 minutes to go to the sports book and vote. Bet. I noticed that too, because I was listening to the game before I left, and I was hearing them root, and I was like, oh, wow, there's actually some people going for the Bears. And when you posted it up, I was agreeing with you when you posted it up on the Facebook page. When we got to the bar, we all went, hey, they're all against us. And I said, wait a minute, those guys 15 minutes ago just had a hard-on for my team. So it's all writers and it's all BS. I'm just going to throw one more waiver wire one out there, and then we're going to get to the quick and dirty injury report. I'm still loving Kobe Fleener, tight end of the Colts. He's still sitting on some waiver wires, and if you need him, I'd go grab him, because we saw, we see how Andrew Luck is struggling and all that. And the other person is, in this game, he already got a touchdown, is Marcellus Bennett, tight end on the Giants.
He's going to be the pickup, especially if you have long-term injuries to these receivers for the Giants. I don't know if it's just because it's a short week or it was going to be nagging injuries, but he would be the man to go to, and he's a proven tight end. He's a good baller.
Yeah, I think they're going to continue to have problems. Hickson, it was a case of something in practice, and Hakeem Nicks, the reason I didn't play him last week, game time decision, they throw him in, and then I'm watching at the bar, and I look up, and I'm like, 199 yards, are you kidding me?
He strained his foot sticking it to you. That's what happened. That foot injury rose back up again.
That was it. I mean, that's what I'm putting up with in one of my leagues, these foot injuries with Pierre Garçon over in Washington. The guy, I finally have decided to get rid of him, and then I tried to go with his backup, Adric Robinson, who was the backup for him at wide receiver, and he drops a bomb that was thrown into his hands in the end zone. And RG3 can only throw it into your hands. And speaking of, I want to say the bonehead penalty of the week. Were you watching the Redskins game at all, Neil?
No, I didn't. What was I doing?
Well, whatever.
I had soccer matches I had to referee earlier in the day because they doubled up. There's a big festival across the street tomorrow, so they doubled up soccer matches. So I missed all the, I call them 10 o'clock, all the early games. Yes, it's supposed to start at 10 o'clock in the morning here, believe it or not.
Okay, Pele, that's great. You over there with the people kicking the ball all around. Damn it, you're part of the problem, man.
The other football, yes.
Football with a U. Football. Yeah,
football is the devil.
At the end of the game, the Redskins actually had they were driving and had a chance to possibly catch up, and the guy catches the ball, and the guy shoved him, which he could have gotten a penalty for the guy giving him the shove, but instead of the other guy getting the penalty for the shove, I think it was Robinson. I'm sure we'll get callers and emails or whatever if I'm wrong, but whoever the receiver was takes the ball and threw it and bounced it off of the other player. Right in front of the ref.
Dude, yeah, I did see that. In fact, it wasn't Robinson. He's actually receiving death threats on Twitter. People are so angry with him.
Yeah. Everybody knows who I'm talking about. He actually heaved the ball. I've never seen a player do that in my life. And when I saw it happen, I'm like, everybody watch for the replay. This is insane.
Hey, you want to beat another horse to death? How about that Tampa Giants thing that's been all over all the networks and everything? You know, I tell you what, having played and everything else, you're always told play to the whistle, play to the whistle, play to the whistle.
Right.
And in these games, it's fourth down, the game's over, the team gets the ball. Maybe you're down by 3, you're down by 5. It's the snap and kneel, give it up kind of thing. Here comes Tampa Bay saying, you know what, screw that. As soon as the ball is snapped, I want you to charge across that field before he can put his knee on the ground, have him throw that ball up in the air, fumble it, pick it up and run with the damn thing, because no one's going to be able to catch you except maybe one of the running backs, you know, and you're going to get some yards. Maybe we'll get a field goal or touchdown out of this thing. So now, was that unsportsmanlike from a rookie coach to play to the whistle? Or is this a strategy that, hey, if I'm down by less than 3 or something and I need that ball back, hey, we're on the field for 60 minutes. Let's do it.
I think you take the chance. I don't think it's unsportsmanlike. I think they're all gladiators. They're all playing they're all getting paid reasonably well. Even the rookies, I wouldn't mind making that much money a year to play football. I mean, you're kicking ass until the clock ticks down to 0. So I think a coach should tell their players, you don't know when they're doing the just the kneel down, you don't know what the hell's going to happen in that ball. Or you might be able to throw them off, scare the crap out of them. You pretend you come rushing, get them to flinch.
Was it Marino that did the fake kneel down and then stood up and threw a touchdown pass in one game?
Yeah, and that's why I think they have a rule against that now.
Yeah, that could very well be. But, the fact of the matter is, if you're down by 14 points, you're down by 10, it's a 2-score game, there's 10 seconds left, you do the gentleman's thing, you have to play it out. I mean, if you want to save players from getting injured, then the referee should declare the game unwinnable by the team who's behind, blow the whistle and call it a night. But They don't. They say play it down to 60 minutes.
That's right.
So that having been said, if I'm down by 3 and you're taking a knee at the 50-yard line, you know what? I'm letting my big 380-pound nose tackle knock your center on his arse. I'm taking the ball out of the quarterback's hand. He's going to rumble 15 yards, get tackled at the 25 by the running back who's faster, and then I'm kicking a field goal and winning the game.
Damn right.
So I have a problem with it because of what we've been led to believe, but I think it's a revolutionary idea, and I'd love to see it happen more often.
Hey,
your offense will be geared for it now, but he did nothing wrong. He did not break the rules.
It's coming from the same geniuses that are why we now have to put up with retarded coaches freezing kickers. And now I love when they get burned and their kicker actually makes the kick and they freeze the defense or whatever the hell they do. It's so stupid. Anyway, we got 15 minutes left in the show. Let me run our balls to the wall injury report really quick. We all know about the Giants, and we all know this. Yes, mark it on your calendars. Week 3 of 2002's football season was the Ahmad Bradshaw injury week, and yes, it was a true pain in the neck. Yes, a sprained neck. You also have Dominic Hickson out in the game that we're watching now. You have Hakeem Nicks out. But they're up by 20-0, so Carolina and the wonderful running Cam Newton, come on, get your asses moving. Andre Brown we know is in his place, and the wide receiver Ramses Barden is in, but we haven't really seen any impact out of him yet. And the Giants just recovered a fumble or got a interception because they're running the other way, so with 1:18 to go, they're going to get even more points. Big injury for the Patriots this week. Tight end Aaron Hernandez suffered what's believed to be a high ankle sprain. He suffered it in the loss to Arizona, and it could sideline him. They finally announced yesterday up to 6 weeks. So who did they hire? They went back and hired another tight end, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. I went, what? And don't you have enough tight ends? You've already got Franco. I think it's on their injury reserve list. They grabbed somebody out of the archives, and I should have wrote it down. I just deem it insignificant.
Yeah, it is. I think they have 6 tight ends. the way that offense runs, that's all it is.
Yeah.
I believe it was a pick. Mr. Cam Newton doesn't look too happy. Yeah,
it was a pick.
Yeah, LaFell went up for the ball, tipped it. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Pierre Garçon's tootsies, his little feeties are still hurting from running. So he's out. You might want to do a crazy gamble like I announced last week, and who knows, Robinson might take off this week or any of the other wide receivers, but I would definitely not go with Pierre Garçon this week. Philly, wide receiver Jeremy Maclin left last week's game with re-aggravating his hip pointer that he already had. It's been plaguing him so far this season and in the preseason. His status isn't looking good. And then in my fine Bears game, the great thing we had to put up with was seeing Matt Forte be off the field. Michael Bush did good. You have Michael Bush playing, don't you, Neil?
I have been on his bandwagon since the first show. I drafted him as the goal line sniper. Now he got the Bradshaw promotion, so you should have had him on your roster. It's funny because I was reading on one of the websites say, people are scrambling to cover Forte. Why? You should have had Bush anyway.
In most of my leagues, and that's BS, and this is how uneducated they are, I don't know one draft where Bush didn't go. Every single one of my leagues, Bush was taken in the draft from the get-go. Because everybody knew about this situation on the Bears, and everybody knew that Forte has also been injury-prone, and it's ridiculous how they would say everybody's scrambling. No, the Bears had to scramble, and we had to re-sign Khalil Bell, for Christ's sake, who wasn't very good in our lackluster season last year. So I wouldn't go with Khalil Bell for all this.
And then Lovey comes out and says, "Well, it's not really a high ankle sprain." Well, then why did you waste the money signing somebody to cover him?
And you took the words out of my mouth. I was just going to say, all of a sudden they're like, it's a low ankle sprain. He might only be out for 1 or 2 games. Yeah, exactly. Why are you covering your ass? He's just playing some gamesmanship, I think. I think he's going to be out for a little while.
The Bears' bye is in 3 weeks, which gives him a month to recover, actually 5 weeks before he gets back on the field again. So, they're bringing somebody in. I question. Lovey is not quite Shanahan when it comes to lying to the media about injuries, and he's no Belichick either. So
he has the same expression on his face all the time. We never know what he's thinking on our sideline.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have about 10 minutes left, so we're not rushing it. Let's get to our lineups, dude. Well, first we need the results from last week, Mr. Statistician.
Mr. 2-0, I may rule you in the trash bowl, but you have a better set of balls picks. The obscure person, is not obvious. You won handily again. Your pick of Reggie Bush, definitely the MVP. He went off. You don't think much of Miami, and Bush is proving you wrong, at least for 1 week. So congratulations, you are now 2-0. It looks like I'll be sitting up there at Tinhorn with a Bears jersey on for the Facebook picture. I might be 14-2 when everything is said and done. So don't count your chickens too quickly. RG3 went off again. Your pony beat my pony. RG3 has 50 points so far for over the season with our scoring system. Blocker, we talked about with Jenna Lee. Mm-hmm. He has 17 points. His guys cannot catch a freaking football. The offensive line is struggling, which causes them to have no running game. But, I mean, come on, guys. When your quarterback hits you in the hands, the least you can do is bring the ball down. I mean, maybe they're afraid of being hit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's not like you're getting thrown to from Brett Favre, for Christ's sake. I mean, at least I'll give you and your team props when the receivers have dropped the ball. At least you could say, well, Brett Favre is throwing this shit to me,
Yeah, I mean, you get a finger bent backwards. Now, that's impressive, but when a guy's laying a ball into your hands, catch the damn thing. That's what you're paid for. You're paid to be a receiver, not a dropper. I could be a dropper. Give me $1 million, I won't catch a damn thing. I guarantee it. But you know what? I'll take $1 million check. You know, if I'm expected to actually catch the ball, then that's what I am paid for. Sorry.
Right. All right. Let's get to your lineup, man. Let's get to your lineup for people that have been listening, for people that haven't been listening, we are doing the Big Balls Challenge. Every week, Neil and I are picking a lineup and going head-to-head, mano-a-mano with our balls picks. This way, you're not just getting our waiver wire picks, you're getting kind of a flavor of what kind of a lineup you should be putting together of not your everyday, a good mixture of solid picks, but they were balls picks from the get-go. So you're building on old balls picks like I am with RG3, and we were allowed to pick at the beginning of the season one pony, as Neil called it, rightly so, that you're going to ride all the way to the end of the season. You must play that person every week. And mine was RG3, and you took Locker as your pony, right?
Yeah. You can have, since they're quarterbacks, you can have a week-to-week quarterback as your balls pick, but these ponies are accruing points throughout the season and are going to count as like a side bet kind of thing. I'll let you go. Since I've cleared you, pardon?
No, I was saying we're doing this for fun, but I just really want to preface it. We're not wasting your time. The picks we're given in these are just as valuable as the waiver wire picks we just gave you earlier. So I'm gonna. These are your off the map players that you might want to throw in. We're going to back up the reason we're picking them, and it's something to look at in case you have problems. Especially now, you know, it's fun to see who's got the better team. But we got bye weeks coming up, and we'll be touching on that next week's show because next week is the beginning of the bye weeks. But Greg, since I fleenered you to no great advantage last week on the tight end position, I'll let you take the first pick. Going through this week. Well, I'm taking. I got my pony, RG3, and are you sticking with Locker?
Oh yeah, the ponies we can't change, but you can get another quarterback.
Right.
If you have a balls quarterback.
I'm with RG3. He's my balls quarterback for the whole year. My balls running back this week is Ben Tate of the Houston Texans. This guy, I have Arian Foster in my pay league at work as my go-to running back, but Ben Tate, a guy picked him up, and this guy comes in because Arian Foster can't hold a whole game together. You know, he gets a few touchdowns, and then Ben Tate comes in and gets a few touchdowns. They don't have a shortage of good running backs in Texans land. So I'm going with Ben Tate. Who are you going for the running back?
Well, I'm going to ride going back to the quarterback, since you're going to ride RG3 both times. It isn't doing it so far. I'm going to jump on Andrew Luck as this week's quarterback again because you got the home cooking a second time through. And, you know, it would have been too obvious to pick Luck versus RG3 as our ponies. But Luck's he had confidence building week against Minnesota, which will build confidence for any quarterback with their secondary. But he's at home again, so I'm going to ride him through. I was going to take, obviously enough, Marshawn Lynch against the Packers because it would be balls to bet against my own team, but that's the wrong kind of balls. I'm going to take Mr. You should have called a freaking cab. The NFL Players Association Union gives you a card with a free taxi ride. You pull the card out of your wallet, you call, you have a phone. Put in free cab as a listing on your phone. Put it as a free cab so that when you turn your phone on and hit contact, it's the first thing there. And push that frickin' button. I'm going to take Turner coming back into San Diego where he got his root. Atlanta has no running game to speak of, but to me that's the balls thing. Turner is going to go home and he's embarrassed. I think he's going to try to redeem himself. He's not going to be suspended this week because there's still pending investigations. But if you've got Turner in your backfield, I suggest very rapidly finding someone to replace him because the NFL will be suspending him at some point. If Atlanta doesn't do it, just to stave the NFL off. But Turner's going to miss a couple of games here down the road. That's a guarantee.
Yeah.
But he's my running back this week.
Awesome. We've got 4 minutes left. I'm going to throw 2 out there, my wide receiver and my tight end. I'm going I already had him written down so he counts, and I haven't been keeping track of the stats, and neither of you. I went with Brandon LaFell of Carolina.
Okay, that's fine. You went against my advice, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm going to be all over you if this guy doesn't do shit. You know that.
I know. And a tight end, I'm going with Fleener again, man.
Yeah, Fleener up again. Yeah, he's a nice safety valve for luck, but he didn't do a thing for me, so I went ahead and dumped him. I went with Cobb for Green Bay. I know it's not the greatest balls, but it is who's open this week, so you got to flip a coin. Jennings is probably going to be out again. He's got a nagging groin.
Yeah.
So I would think about hanging on to Jones or Cobb because a lot of guys dropped Jones and Cobb last week. Pick them up and drop them like a hot potato. They did the Ogletree thing to him. Hang on to those guys because Jennings is going to be iffy all season, I think. I went with Pettigrew. We touched on that earlier in the show about tight ends, purely because he's playing against Tennessee. So I think he's a good option at tight end. Moving on, sir.
I'm going with Nate Kading as my kicker. I know
okay.
Do you need me
justify the balls. Go with it.
Do you need me to get ballsier than that, or
no? Kading is fine. I mean, he was lights out week 1, and then he basically kicked extra points week 2. So what justifies the balls of Kading? He's back from an injury. You don't know if he's going to re-injure himself. So I'm going with him, and then I'm going with the San Francisco defense against Minnesota. Oh my God! Really? That's like a negative. That's so negative on the balls. It's like a vagina pick almost.
Okay. No. I had my backup.
They're the best defense in the NFL, dude. How is that ball against Minnesota?
Testing you. I knew you were going to call me on that. So you know who I'm taking? I'm taking the Cleveland Browns.
That's balls. There we go.
See, I pulled a switcheroo on you. Come on.
Wow.
I wouldn't let you take San Francisco either.
Oh man, I got to change my whole lineup now. Actually, I got Zerline as my kicker for St. Louis against your Bears, and I'll tell you why. Because I trust your Bears D, and the entire Bears team was embarrassed. But they're not going to keep St. Louis out of field goal range. They're going to throw to Amendola. He's going to get on the 25. They're going to go, breaks. We're done. Okay, send out the white boy to kick the ball. Zerline's going to have field goals. He's my balls kicker. Defense, I'm taking the Arizona Cardinals, which you might want to flag me on because they are better than expected as a defense. They're playing Philadelphia. So I do think that they can take out Michael Vick and his band of whatever in the heck they are.
But I'd give it a 3 on the ball scale. I mean, they're coming off of the Patriots, and they good showing there. So I'd go with them. They have the momentum. So we got
it's an emotion drainer too. That's going to wear the team out having to have step to play the Patriots. So
yeah. All right, we are out of time, man. Week 3 in the books. May the best man win. I want to thank Jenna Lee again for calling in. And again, next week we will be on Wednesday at 5:30. Wednesday at 5:30. And you can watch for all of our updates on Facebook at Big Balls Fantasy Football and on Twitter. Any final words, Neil?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for listening, and I'm going to have the challenge lineup posted. Just not watching the game as intensely as I was last week. I'll have that posted up tonight. And drop us a line on Facebook or Twitter. Call into the show. You got a question? We got answers. It's not a problem.
We've been answering them. All righty, man. Take it easy, everybody. Good luck with your lineup this week. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Later.
types of balls. There are big brave balls, and there are little meat balls. Dicks have drive and clarity of vision.
The most important piece of equipment is called the cup. Now, it ain't no Dixie cup, and it ain't no coffee mug. And you certainly won't want to be drinking nothing out of it.
Hey, any boys down there? About the biggest bear you ever seen, Dingleberry.
Wow, what type of these bulls will die?